a war.
What's going on, you guys? This is your boy RBG, aka the Randomblackgamer, bringing you another episode on Transformers Rise of the Beast. And your eyes aren't fooling you, this is me in the flesh. Must be the work of an enemy stand user, right? But no, guys, I thought I would just do something a little different from the usual just voice commentary and provide you guys with an actual on-camera video, since I am trying to become more of a visual personality as opposed to just a voice behind the camera. But it's been a very tumultuous time for the Transformers franchise in general, because it seems like Paramount and E1 are still trying to figure out where they want to go in terms of direction for these films moving forward. And for the most part, it's been interesting, just to say the least, in terms of how different characters are getting introduced and stuff. Obviously, we've seen them try to bring the Beast era cast to a more modern audience and trying to get people more familiar with them, because they're one of the characters that are in this gray area. I'm actually a person that grew up on Beast Wars. That was actually my foray into the Transformers series. But there are other people such as the G1 community and the community that have grown up on the Bay films, which they were introduced to, that aren't particularly high on that franchise. And there are people who aren't really liking any of the Transformers, particularly the Bay films, because they feel like those are just mindless explosions and beautiful noise. So understandably so, it's just been this weird divide in terms of different fandoms and what we want out of the Transformers series. One question that's been asked in particular is if these films are all in the same continuity, because Bumblebee did allude to such in terms of just that, and how it could possibly tie into the Bay films, because we do get this weird kind of voice bite from Bobby Bolivia, Bernie Mac, the late Bernie Mac's character, talking about the mystical bond between man and machine. And, Bumblebee's overall aesthetic, even though it harkens back to the G1 show, it doesn't really harken back too much. It still kind of maintains those elements that the Bay films produced. So we're trying to figure out where exactly these films lie in terms of continuity. And I've tried to stress this in one video, but I think that was just a brief description of what I thought. I really didn't go into complete detail because I didn't want to detract from the overall title that I was talking about at the time. And other YouTube uploaders in the Transformers community tried to elaborate on it too. Shout outs to the Fire Brothers and the Raging Nation. And I think Comedy Cam, he even elaborated on this. So I want to do my best to elaborate on this too, just because we all have a unified thought going into this. And, people like me and the Fire Brothers and all those other YouTubers, we have our finger on the pulse of what goes on behind the scenes in terms of these films. But a lot of you guys don't fully understand, and you're still arguing me down on if this film is in the Bay films or if it's not, because there are a lot of continuity issues. But yeah, firstly, we just had to talk about it. The marketing for these movies isn't, in the same realm as the marketing you've seen for other properties like Marvel and all these other superhero genre films. It's totally different. One thing that people like to say is that Transformers, it could be in that same realm, but it's a little different because it's one of those big promotion type deals. You have to promote these characters in a way. And sometimes, you have to give the roster a facelift. Characters going to get killed off. The only mainstays that you are going to get is Optimus and Bumblebee, and they always try to freshen up the roster behind those characters. So there's that. I feel like we won't see those characters die off anytime soon. We're always going to get those characters. But it seems like Paramount is trying to just, bring more characters to the forefront and see how they play with the mainstay characters such as Optimus and Bumblebee. But, it's just causing a lot of confusion on what people really want to see, because you do have that audience that loves the mindless explosions from the Bay films, and they love the beauty and aesthetic of those characters. They have a very futuristic, advanced design as compared to the more streamlined, dumbed down versions that we've gotten in Bumblebee, which are still good for their, what they are, but they aren't really as tech savvy or just extreme to the max detail, and you can see all the intricacies and the different parts and stuff and how they transform. So people want that back, and it seems like Paramount is trying to find a medium ground where they can deliver those classical designs and deliver those futuristic designs. That's why you saw Shatter and Dropkick up in Bumblebee, because they kind of towed the lines of being more fitting, like they could, possibly be in the Bayverse films. But people still weren't buying that. They don't want that, you know, and that's been causing this big division. In terms of where they're going next, I feel like they still don't know, because Bumblebee, it seems like they were trying to go for a fresh new take on these characters. I still stand by my opinion that that was a soft reboot. Still trying to remain in the Bay films, just based on the different things we've heard behind scenes, and what the director himself, Travis Knight, even mentioned that he couldn't make Blitzwing Starscream because there were some conflicting things that would kind of contradict the timeline and the original continuity of the Bay films. And, you know, I think that's what ultimately led him to just walk away from the franchise in general, because I know a lot of people were looking forward to seeing him direct a sequel to Bumblebee, which I'm guessing is Transformers Rise of the Beast, but that just wasn't the case, because I feel like creatively his hands are tied, you know, thanks to Paramount and Lorenzo Di Bonaventura, who I'm going to talk about later on in this video. Thanks to them, his creativity was kind of tied down, because they're still uncertain on where they want to take it. And instead of answering the question on if these films are tied to the Bayverse films, they would rather just kind of leave that to your imagination so they don't rock the boat, because they know if they do say that these films are new and different and aren't tied to the Bayverse films, that will lose a big chunk of the audience that roast these films of billions, like billions of dollars at the box office. So they're not trying to sway that boat in the slightest. I think they're still pandering the Chinese, like to the Chinese audience, because that's like the bulk of the community right there. That's why these movies cross that $1 billion threshold at the end of the day. But the Bay films, like the Bayverse community in general, they do make up a large community of it. And the new Bumblebee community, that's still in its infancy. And until they actually start seeing those big numbers come up again, like they were with the Bay films, they're not really going to say anything, because they're still going back to the drawing board and trying to figure out where they can actually take this and how are they going to make those big numbers again. Because Transformers, one thing that is to Paramount, it's like their Marvel Cinematic Universe in a sense. That's what brings them the big box office numbers. And they've been trying to actually, you know, hit that mark with other properties such as the G.I. Joe franchise, which they still haven't hit their stride with yet. The G.I. Joe Snake Eyes film isn't really doing that good at the box office. And if you guys notice, as soon as that movie tanked at the box office, Paramount basically just switched up their plans on their initial release date for Transformers Rise of the Beast. They pushed it back to December of 2022, which is, it was supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, June 2022 release date. That's since been pushed back. And I think it's because they can't afford to make that many mistakes. You know, they're actually putting a lot of money in this film compared to the previous installment, which was Bumblebee, and that one had $100 million, compared to the $250 to $300 million budget that they put into, you know, the usual Bay films. We're actually getting that. And another thing that I've been hearing about is that they're actually trying to get Michael Bay back on board as an executive producer, because he did executive produce Bumblebee. So I don't know where they're trying to go with this. It seems like they're still trying to cater to both audiences without exactly saying what they want to do. If they do bring Michael Bay back, I'm thinking that he's going to have a little more input than usual. You know, we're still going to get those big explosions probably. And, you know, this movie is going to have a $200 million budget. So they do want to make sure their money is well spent. I personally feel like a soft reboot or just a full-on reboot would be the best idea, and actually starting back on Cybertron would be the best move to make if you wanted to start off with a perfectly new slate. But according to Lorenzo Di Bonaventura, like, one of the reasons why Bumblebee wasn't successful, it's not because fans didn't just tune in to see it, it's because of the abysmal, quote-unquote abysmal marketing campaign. They feel like they didn't market it as well as they did the other films. And in my opinion, I guess that's the case, because Bumblebee didn't really have an insane marketing campaign like the Bay films did with all the different cross advertisements and stuff like that. And, you know, like Michael Bay, he always kind of panders to China and they have their own marketing campaign. But Bumblebee didn't really get that big thing, you know, big push like the previous installments got. But I still chalk that up to just the overall design aesthetic of those characters and the way that they're going with the new direction. From what we've read, we've heard that they're trying to look for concept artists who specialize in making futuristic robots. So you guys who are familiar with the Bay films and love those films, you could possibly be getting what you want with those character designs, like depending on who they bring in. I have a nagging suspicion that Scourge is going to be one of those characters that has that insane Bayverse aesthetic that you guys love a lot. And then, you know, you have the other characters. We haven't really seen how the new Optimus design is going to look, but we've heard it harkens more back to the G1 look from Bumblebee compared to the more recent incarnations, or the previous incarnations, shall I say, that looked more futuristic, like last night Transformers Optimus. But I don't know, guys. Like, I just wanted to just chime in and just give you guys an overall sense of why you shouldn't really try to come up with your own continuity and what you think these movies should take place in, because at the end of the day, these movies are just made to, you know, just generate millions or if billions of dollars, and they're not really in it for just having a lot of, you know, smooth transitions and continuity, you know. I think we've seen that with the DC, like DC, which I basically just coined ditch continuity, because the continuity is all over the place at this point with that franchise. Like, Warner Brother wants to just make money with it. They're not in the business of trying to tell you what direction they're going in terms of the continuity and what these movies are tied to. And Paramount, they're pretty much in the same field. Like, they just really are just trying to hit it big like they did in the yesteryears when the Transformers film franchise was still in its infancy. So if you guys wanted to be, you know, in any continuity, then just have at it, man. You know, I'm not here to argue with you and just tell you where it should take place in, because there have been multiple instances where they alluded to it taking place in the Bayverse, and then there have been times where they just came out and said, oh, this is a new restart, you know, but they don't really just full out tell you what we're doing with the franchise. But yeah, guys, let me know in the comment section below what you think about that. I just wanted to clarify that you shouldn't really acknowledge it. Like, just take it for what it is. Like, if you want to say that it's a continuation of Bumblebee, which it is, just say it like that, you know. But I don't want you to get your hopes up, and I don't want you to rattle your brains on where these movies should take place. Anyways, I'm sorry if this video is all over the place. I just wanted to try something new with you guys and just touch base with you on, you know, where we're heading for the channel. You know, I actually want to let it be known that this is who I am, you know, especially if I'm going to be out in, like, big public events and stuff like that. My face needs to be more familiar with you, with my audience and people that are watching, you know, newer people that are coming in. But yeah, if you want it to be in the Bayverse, go for it. Or if you want it to be a fresh new take, go for it. But this is your boy RBG signing out on another video. I will catch you guys later in the next one. Peace.
That's Optimus Prime, you know me.